from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
A pleasant evening and a very warm welcome to the National News. We are coming to you live from the National News Studio of Rupavahini. I'm Dulanjali Ananda. Joining me is Charita Minipurarachi. And these are the top stories for tonight. Inflation increases to 54.6% in June. The news report stating that Japan will not support Sri Lanka is false. The Japanese ambassador meets the president. The railway strike suspended. Commuters condemn the strike. Visa for investments has been extended for 5 years. Mervyn Silva obtains Sri Lanka Freedom Party membership. 10,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer will be issued for maize cultivation in Yalla season. 19 die in a landslide in India. The US stock market collapses. Now for those and other stories in detail. The annual inflation of Colombo Consumer Price Index has increased to 54.6% in June. It has been recorded 39.1% in May. Top story. Price increase of food and non-food items has contributed to the annual inflation increase. Accordingly, annual inflation of the food category, which was 57.4% in May, has increased to 80.1% in June. The annual inflation of non-food category was 30.6% in May, and it has increased to 42.4% in June. The difference of Colombo Consumer Price Index in June is 12.8%. Price increase of food and non-food items has increased by 6.81% and 5.9%. Price of fish, vegetable, bread, rice, milk food increased considerably in June. The statement issued by the central bank said that price of transport, petrol, diesel, school transport fares, bus fares, restaurants and hotels, education, tertiary education, tuition fees, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuel increased. The annual inflation of 14.2% in May has increased to 18.4% in June. The primary inflation increased to 39.9% in June from 28.4% in May. The central bank statement said the annual primary inflation, which was 10.2% in May, increased to 13.3% in June.
And meanwhile, the Japanese government says Sri Lanka will be supported continuously for the program of International Monetary Fund and for the development activities.
Bilateral relations are also expected to be further strengthened.
Japanese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Hideki Bizokoshi, mentioned this during a meeting with the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. The meeting took place at the President's house in Colombo. The Japanese ambassador said that steps will be taken to continuously maintain economic, social and cultural relations with Sri Lanka. The President thanked the ambassador for the support given to Sri Lanka by Japan. The Oman ambassador says Sri Lanka will be supported to strengthen bilateral relations and for fuel, gas, energy, employment and investment opportunities. Ambassador Ahmed Ali Zaid Ali Rashid, who is leaving after his tenure, mentioned this met President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. The meeting took place at the President's house in Colombo. About 25,000 Sri Lankans are working in Oman at present. The President requested the ambassador to support to increase employment opportunities in the trade sector. The President appreciated the support given to Sri Lanka during Ambassador Zaid Rashid's 8-year service period and discussed about broad opportunities in trade and investments in the country. The ambassador said that he is scheduled to report for service at Oman Foreign Ministry and he would take steps to further strengthen relationship between the two countries. President's head of staff Anuruddha Dissanayake was present on this occasion.
The Japanese embassy in Sri Lanka emphasizes that the rumors which state that the Japanese government does not support Sri Lanka under the prevailing situation are false. A false statement has been spread stating, as the Japanese ambassador has said, that the country cannot be supported due to the suspicion of misusing financial relief. Making a statement in this connection, the Japanese embassy in Colombo confirmed that it is completely false. Deputy head of delegation of the Japanese embassy, Katsuki Kotoro, has vehemently rejected the propaganda. The Japanese embassy has informed this in writing today to the Prime Minister's secretary and said that steps will be taken to rectify it, preventing harmful influence to Sri Lanka's economy due to the false statement. Now, the Railway General Manager Dhammika Jayasundara says that the train strike which commenced this morning has been suspended.
Several trains were cancelled this morning by the railway guard, stating that there was no fuel to come for work. Railway General Manager Dhammika Jayasundara said that several trains were cancelled recently since there were transport issues for the railway staff. However, steps were taken to issue fuel to the railway staff by getting the approval.
In
22 train services including office trains were cancelled since the workers did not report for work due to the fuel issues. Accordingly, office trains from to Rabukkana, Mirugama and Wayangoda, trains to Chilo, Panadura and Wadduwa, Uday Devi train from Colombo Fort to Batiklo and goods train to Amisawela were not operated today. Commuters faced severe difficulties due to the railway strike. Only limited number of trains were operated today and the people were seen travelling dangerously. People condemned the railway workers for causing inconvenience to them when there is a fuel crisis in the country. Employees of Sitawaka Urban Council left their places of work for the second day today since they did not receive fuel from the filling stations in the town to go to work. They said that they will move out of all services of the Urban Council. Our reporter said office workers, people and who come for various activities in Bandarapalli town travel dangerously in footboard due to the minimum number of private and SLTB buses that were operated. Metal businessmen in Anuradhapura says that they are unable to maintain their business due to the shortage of fuel and explosives. They said that there is a danger in many workers losing their employment. Long lines of queues can be seen as fuel has not been received for several days in Amisawel area. Although tokens were issued from IOC filling stations, people charged that those who were issued only to their friends. Steps have been taken to provide fuel for essential services in many areas of the island today. People protested against not distributing fuel properly from filling stations. Employees of the Petroleum Corporation protested today demanding not to privatize the Sapugaskanda refinery. They demanded to purchase crude oil without fuel from foreign countries. Chairman of the Private Bus Owners Association, Gamunu Vijayaratna, says that they may not be able to maintain the industry due to the people not using private buses as a result of high bus fares.
The program to extend visa period up to 5 years, which was given for 1 year for investors, commenced today under the patronage of Minister Dhammika Perera at the Board of Investments. The aim of the program is to attract more investors into the country. By issuing visas for a long time, investors will be able to stay in the country for a long time and to conduct businesses. Minister Dhammika Perera said that $4.5 billion had come to the country in 2018. All media channels in the country should come together and educate to bring over 2 million tourists as in 2018. If that happens, no one has to wait in diesel and petrol queues. The solution can be found through tourism and foreign workers' remittances. The one-day service to get passports will be opened in Mathura, Kandy and Vaunia from Monday. He said that when he informed he is coming, Basil Rajapaksa has said he would resign. Although I have not assumed work, attempts are made to keep everyone happy by solving problems of everyone. Now, China has donated an essential stock of medicine to Sri Lanka yesterday.
Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Sen Zhong, handed over the medicine stocks to Minister Keheli Rambukwala at the Health Ministry. The stocks include essential life protection medicine and enoxaparin donated by China under the second phase of Chinese humanitarian assistance program. The total value of the Chinese humanitarian assistance project is $76 million. 28 million out of that are a grant of and 48 million are a loan grant. The Chinese ambassador said another essential stocks of medicine including rabies vaccine will be given to Sri Lanka. He said it can meet medicine requirement for about 1 year. The ambassador emphasized that China is always prepared to meet needs of Sri Lanka according to the long-term friendship between the two countries. Minister Kehri Rambukwella thanked the ambassador for the support given by the Chinese government to the local health sector. A group of people including officials of the health ministry and the Chinese embassy were present on this occasion. Minister Mahinda Amaravira has instructed officials to take steps to issue urea fertilizer for maize farmers in the Yala season. The minister gave these instructions during a meeting at the Agriculture Ministry yesterday.
The country is expected to receive the urea fertilizer stock given by India during the first week of this month. Plans have been made to provide 65,000 metric tons of fertilizer for paddy and 10,000 metric tons to maize cultivation. Minister Mahinda Amaravira said 5,000 metric tons will be issued for paddy cultivation in the Yala season and the remaining stock will be used for tea cultivation.
And meanwhile, the chairman of Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, says that party will submit amendments to the 21st Amendment to the Constitution in Parliament.
He mentioned this during a media briefing today at the party headquarters. Chairman of Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, said that the 21st Amendment is totally different from the 19th Amendment. Certain parts that were in the 19th Amendment have been removed. 3 executive positions in the country were created with the 19th Amendment. Those positions are the President, Prime Minister and Speaker. The Speaker took advantage of the position. Therefore, I said at that time it was wrong to give those powers to the Speaker.
And meanwhile, former MP Mervyn Silva has obtained membership of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Mervyn Silva obtained SLFP membership today from its chairman Maithripala Sirisena. He entered Parliament in 1994 general election representing United National Party from the Hambantota district. Thereafter, he contested in 2004 general election from the Colombo district representing United People's Freedom Alliance. He polled 2,236 preferential votes rather. After his wife resigned from the national list of United People's Freedom Alliance, he entered the Parliament. Many incidents reported about him during that time. One of the incidents is tying up a public servant to a tree. Thereafter, the continuous clash with several media organizations. Due to his intense behavior, the President Mahinda Rajapaksa removed Mervyn Silva from ministerial post. Maithripala Sirisena, who was then General Secretary of the party, cancelled his SLFP party membership. Mervyn Silva's behavior in Parliament was condemned by the speakers. He worked for the victory of Sajith Premadasa at 2019 presidential election and thereafter contested from the Anuradhapura district in the general election representing United National Party. He obtained the SLFP membership today under such a background. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has accused that a certain political party directed youth to set fire to the houses of parliamentarians on the 9th.
MP Indika Anuruddha mentioned this during a media briefing at the party headquarters on Nelum Mawatha. General Secretary of SLPP Sagar Karyavasam said that foreign exchange should come to the country to build the country. One of the main avenues is the arrival of foreign tourists into the country. If the roads are closed, foreign tourists will not arrive. We can overcome the situation if people are determined to change the situation with understanding. Now, Samagijana Balavega says that main problem in the country can be solved through the export revenue and foreign remittances received from immigrant workers.
And during a media briefing in Colombo today, MP Ashok Abeykoon said that those funds can be managed only through a consensual government. MP Ashok Abeykoon said that people cannot live in a hyperinflation situation which is taking place in our country. This can be handled by only a consensual government. The economic crisis has led to a political crisis. And meanwhile, the Janata Vimukti Peramuna says solutions can be found within a short period of time for the present crisis.
Politburo member and former MP Bima Ratnayake expressed his views in this regard during a meeting yesterday in Negombo. JVP Politburo member Bima Ratnayaka said that if Sri Lanka is in this position due to stealing, normalcy can be restored by catching thieves. But this has been taking place for about 50 to 60 years. Speedy actions should be taken to produce local products to solve the dollar issue.
People in many areas of the country have taken to home gardening due to the prevailing crisis. Kusumalata Manike is living in Hatharaskotu village in Hinguragote area, is maintaining a successful garden using only organic fertilizer. H.M. Premavati living in Bandaravela East has been able to get a successful harvest by cultivating crops in a small area. She said that the vegetables and fruits cultivated in the garden are used for consumption and the remaining stock is sold for people in the area. Chandrasena Navaratna living in Kosgam area, employed at army headquarters, has converted his garden into a beautiful land. He has cultivated various crops during his spare time. Yamin the Buddhika of Haputale Haldumulla Nibwood area is maintaining a successful garden with about 6,000 chili plants. He is working as a chef at a 5-star hotel in Colombo and engages in cultivations during this weekend. M. Sirivardhana of Haliala Moraithot area has obtained a successful harvest by cultivating paddy according to traditional methods without using chemical fertilizer or any other chemical material. K. Vimanatilaka of Batapola Galahiriara says that they was able to obtain a successful paddy harvest by using prepared by him.
Another 5 inmates who escaped from Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre were taken into custody today from Polonnaruwa Bakamuna area. Polonnaruwa Magistrate Court ordered yesterday to remand 667 inmates who escaped and surrendered. They have been sent to Anuradhapura, Batiklo, Dumbara and Polonnaruwa prisons for 14 days. Thereafter, they will be produced in court again. Security authorities are conducting operations to find 53 inmates who are still missing. We'll be back with international news after this break.
தேசத்தின் இலக்கை நோக்கி முன்னிற்கும் நாம் சவால்களை வென்று முன் செல்லும் 61வது சுற்றை இவ்வாறு எதிர்கொள்வோம். மக்கள் வங்கி 61 வருடங்களின் அபிமானம்.
Welcome back. On foreign news, bodies of at least 19 people have been recovered from debris after the hill caved in and buried the railroad project area in India's northeastern state of Manipur. Rescuers have found 5 more bodies as they resumed clearing operations after an overnight halt looking for dozens of missing people after a mudslide triggered by weeks of heavy downpours killed at least 19 people at a railroad construction site in India's northeast. Soldiers joined more than 200 disaster response workers as police today used earth-clearing equipment like bulldozers to rescue those buried under the debris in Noni, a town near Imphal, the capital of Manipur state. But the terrain is making it difficult to move heavy equipment, said H. Great, district magistrate, adding that he has asked for reinforcements. Intermittent rain continues in region where 19 bodies have been recovered so far after a hillock caved in and buried the railroad project area, Guild told AP news agency. 18 people with injuries have been hospitalized, said Great. He put the number of people still unaccounted for at around 50. Now, U.S. stocks have seen their worst first half of a year since 1970 as concerns grow over how steps to curb inflation will affect economic growth.
In the last 6 months, the benchmark S&P 500 index fell 20.6%, while other major U.S. indexes have also dropped sharply. Stocks in the United Kingdom, mainland Europe and Asia have also suffered steep losses. It comes as central banks around the world are trying to rein in soaring lives cost with prices of essential goods like food and fuel jumping. Some economists expect the U.S., which is the world's biggest economy, to go into a recession as early as this year as interest rates continue to rise. If the U.S. Federal Reserve continues hiking rates, the stock market will reach quietly negatively. Dan Wang, chief economist at the Hang Seng Bank in China, told the BBC.
It's something to the tune of about 30, that should have
On sports news, it's about the cricket matches which are taking place now. This is the Australian tour of Sri Lanka, and after the ODI and the T20s which we had in the past weeks, the test matches are on. The first test match is held in Galle at the International Stadium, and Australia became victorious by 10 wickets.
Sri Lanka cricket said that Angelo Matthews was sent for quarantine for 5 days due to COVID-19 infection. At the commencement of play today, Australia were 313 for 8 wickets. Their first innings was limited to 321 runs. Sri Lanka commenced their second innings when they were 109 runs behind Australia. Sri Lanka's innings was limited to 113 runs. The Mutkaranratna high scorer with 23. All Sri Lankan players were out within 23 overs in the second innings. Australia needed only 5 runs to win the match, and they won the match without losing any wickets. Cameron Green was a judge man of the match. The second match between the two countries scheduled to commence on the 8th at Galle International Cricket Stadium.
Now, Sri Lanka's short-distance runner Dulanjali Abeykoon came fourth in the 100 metres in the Diamond League Athletics Championship. South African Akani Simbani won the first place.
The competition took place in Switzerland. 8 world's best runners took part in the 100-meter race. Due to a setback at the commencement of the race, Yupin was placed in the 4th. He entered the race in 10.21 seconds. Akani Simbani was the first-placed competition in the race with 10.2 seconds. British athletes Prescott Rees won the second place, and Ricard Jimmy of the France came third. Dulanjali Abeykoon has qualified for the World Athletics Championship, and Dulanjali Abeykoon is the only South Asian to qualify for the competition in the 100 meters.
And that's all the news we have for tonight. Do join us tomorrow at 8:50 p.m. for the very latest on Channel I. I'm Dulanjali, together with Charita, signing off. Good night.
Good night.